All right, Ali. So Survivor just ended. We're definitely talking about it as it ended, even though we're in separate locations. And when the finale came out, we were together, so that doesn't make sense. But we're here. We're here. No, in all seriousness, guys, we are finally here for another episode of A Conversation with Kely. Episode, I don't even know at this point. I think 63, something like that. We're here to talk about the Survivor finale. As always, I'm here with my lovely and beautiful co-host, Sally. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Obviously, I work in the morning, and I got the bear you got me for Christmas.
I was going to say, who got that bear?
You got it for me as like a keepsake for whenever I need a hug, or like if I miss you, which I always miss you.
Aw. I miss her terribly, and it sucks that we could not film this in person, but we got sidetracked. All right, we got sidetracked. Survivor was just not a priority. I will be straight up. The podcast in general was just not a priority for us because of the fact that we were in person and we were focusing on other things. So we're here now to talk about
we were just like very busy, so we couldn't really do our podcast very often, but we're finally doing we're finally doing the finale. I don't think anyone else is going to join, sadly, but we'll see. If someone's awake, maybe they'll pop in, but it's most likely just going to be us, which is fine.
Which is fine, because I'll just go ahead and say right now, get used to this, because moving forward, we are going to have less guests on our podcast. It's not like we're not going to have guests, but like it's just really hard to like coordinate things with people. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people we wanted to get for this season just were very busy and we're not able to join, unfortunately. So I think what we're going to do moving forward is like we'll have guests every so often, but for the most part, it's just going to be us.
So it's going to definitely be more consistent for the next few reality shows. Like we'll do the podcast like probably right after we watch, whether we watch it live or whenever. We'll do the podcast right after, and then probably have guests for every 2 or 3 episodes or something.
And I think that's probably the best approach, because it'll be like the freshest in our memory. So if we like forget anything, we can just say it then. So
and also because like some people are really busy, so it's hard to like get them on. And obviously, like everyone, including us, have different schedules, so it can be tough.
Exactly. But let's just get into it. What did you think of this finale overall? Which side note, we originally watched this finale like when it aired, and then Paramount Plus decided to shit the bed, so we didn't get to finish it until now.
I know. Like he just finished it a little bit ago. I finished it this morning. Because obviously, we watched like part of it live, but because obviously Paramount Plus was being very glitchy. But I'm just glad we finally got it done. I wouldn't say it was a terrible finale. It wasn't like extremely exciting, but it wasn't terrible.
I thought this was actually a pretty strong finale. I went into it and I said this like on the like previous podcast we did. Literally all I cared about going into this is that we had a satisfying winner. That's all that mattered to me. If we had a satisfying winner, like that's what was important. If we did not have a satisfying winner, this would have been a bad finale. Seb, we don't sleep. So like, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen.
We're trying to just get this done. And if Seb wants to join.
If you want to join, like, we'll send you the link. But anyway, no, but in general, I think I was overall pretty satisfied by this finale. I've expressed before how, like, I think the season started off really strong and then it kind of got a little boring in the merge portion. But I think these last few weeks have been pretty good. So I think we're just going to go ahead and talk about everything that happened. We're going to start off here with the first elimination. So obviously this finale was broken down into sections, similar to how Danny sees the game as like sections of the game. This finale was pretty much like, structured around that because it was structured into different sections. So we're going to start off with the first elimination for Final Five. We see Jeff. He talks about how crazy this season has been and how this finale, they will be starting over with 2 immunity challenge, a fire making showdown, And this was something we were wondering about, for the first time since summer 2000, the winner will be announced on the island with an after show immediately following. Right off the bat, what did you think of this? Did you like that idea? Did you like that it was being read on the island, or would you have preferred, like, an audience?
I mean, obviously I get it because of pandemic and the restrictions and everything, but I don't think it was really Survivor, because obviously usually they read the votes right after, like a month later or whatever. Like they go back to New York or LA, so it was definitely not true Survivor with that, but it was definitely understandable.
And I feel like this cast had an impossible challenge that most casts don't, because they literally knew the winner once they had already finished filming, which is not usually the case from what I understand. So I'm surprised nobody ended up spilling the beans, because it was such a hard secret to keep. But I think overall, I understand, like I said, why they had to do it. But it did feel weird. It very much did feel like something is missing. And I think that audience is definitely what was missing for sure. But I also got the feeling that, and I don't know if this is true, but I got the feeling they literally shot 41 and 42 back to back with the way that Jeff was talking. So I think that might also be the reason why they had to, but I don't know. I didn't mind it, but we'll just get into it right now. So basically, Xander talks about how much of a curveball this has thrown at them starting over on a new island. He doesn't feel he needs food or sleep, and that this will only build him up while everyone else crumbles. And I'm just kind of like, Xander, you literally talked about Xander candy last week and how much you enjoyed eating the meat and things like that. What the fuck do you mean you don't need food? I didn't understand this at all. And I will also say, putting them on a new island, I felt was entirely pointless. I didn't feel this really changed much of anything. I didn't really understand why they had to start on a new island. It really just felt like something they put in late game because, we want this to be a full season of Survivor. And I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of that.
Yeah, it was definitely iffy.
Yeah, a bit superfluous overall, but Deshawn and Erika clash a bit about the previous elimination, and she doesn't understand why she was the person that he was targeting. And understandably, there's a lot of animosity between these two, and he felt that he needed to do this to cause some chaos and blow up her spot. And Erika seems really annoyed about this, but he feels that he needed to do this in order to cause a rift in the four-person alliance. Do you think Deshawn handled this well?
He makes very questionable decisions.
Yeah.
I like him as a person. It's just his gameplay can just be very confusing and very frustrating at times.
Yeah, definitely. I like I said, I think his game overall has just been very inconsistent, and I think he has been way too just wishy-washy with his decisions, and I don't think much changes, unfortunately, for this finale. But she tells Ricard that she wasn't expecting Deshawn to do that, and she can barely even talk to him right now. While he claims that it wasn't personal, it very much feels like it is, and she absolutely will not be trusting him after this. So Ricard really takes advantage of this. He feels that this could be really great for him, especially with how much everyone wants Deshawn out. So it'll lessen his chances of going. And again, I mean, to Ricard's great. As usual, he puts in a lot of great work here. And that's something I've always loved about Ricard, is that he never really gives up. He just fights until the last moment. And he very much continues to do that here. So we get this moment where Deshawn is interviewing everyone. He literally has a whole ass stick, and he's using a microphone, and he's interviewing Ricard, and he asks how he feels to be the last person of UA, and Deshawn talks about how Ricard has to go if he doesn't win this next immunity challenge, no matter what. And I mean, that's not a shock. He's been gung-ho for Ricard for a while, so not much to really discuss there. But Erika then talks to Heather, and at first Heather like doesn't want to talk to her at all. But she's also doesn't understand why Heather is so hurt by it, especially with them getting so close to the end, and seems to not even want to discuss it with her. So she goes to Deshawn and tells him that she really did feel that there was potential for them at the end. He makes it clear that it wasn't his intent and that he understands however she feels, and she feels that he blew up his game and doesn't really see how he could recover from this. And to be honest, I don't really feel like he did all that much. Like, regardless of what happened, I don't think Deshawn recovered from this at all.
I don't think so either.
No, I think he just got lucky, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's really all the like strategy talk going on. Let's get more into the challenge here.
All right. Tree mail is then given to everyone. They are told there will be one last hidden advantage. Everyone just wants to make sure Deshawn doesn't get it, and they have no idea what the advantage could be, and Erika is the last one to figure it out.
Again, pointless. Like, I didn't understand the reasoning for this at all. I felt like they did not need this advantage to be a thing. It does play a role, but like, I just don't think it was needed. Like, I feel like it's just another thing they added because we're trying to make it a full season of Survivor, and I didn't like it.
I didn't either. She finds the advantage and is told it will play a role in the immunity challenge. Meanwhile, Deshawn is still searching while everyone else is together, which they feel will weaken him.
Which, like, again, was really smart on their end because, like, he's out there searching. They have time to, like, strategize. So I thought that was pretty smart.
Yeah. At the immunity challenge, Erika tells Jeff about her advantage. He explains the challenge where they will have to build a ladder and solve a 75-piece Survivor puzzle.
Take a drink every time they use puzzle pieces. Like, it's ridiculous. Every challenge, I feel like, involves puzzle pieces.
That's true. There's a lot of them. They will also be playing for steak, veggies, bread, and wine in addition to immunity. Erika will start with a few runs on the ladder already completed, and this proves to be successful as Erika does win this immunity, securing her spot in the final 4. Woo!
Yes. Which we were very happy when that happened, obviously. We want Erika to win the game. So I think that was a really great move for her. I do think that she was slightly benefited from the advantage, but I also don't really feel like she needed it because she fucking beasted that whole challenge. Like, literally the only person who came slightly close to her was Ricard. I mean, I feel like she would have won anyway.
Her getting that advantage, it definitely, like, added to her resume, but she didn't need it.
No, not at all. Not at all.
She is also allowed to choose one person to wine and dine with her, and she picks Heather. They both take the time to clear the air, and Heather admits she mostly was just mad at Deshawn.
Which I was happy that we got to see those two, you know, repair their relationship and whatnot. But again, I mean, I think we figured that, you know, they would eventually be able to clear the air somehow. So I'm glad that they were able to.
Oh yeah, I'm glad. They both agree Ricard has to go here, and while Erika wants to go to the end with Ricard, she knows he will beat her in the end, and Deshawn is someone she can keep, even though she's pissed at him.
Which this was very smart, I think, from Erika, because very often I think when we're playing games, like, we get clouded by, especially at the end, like, our emotional side where it's like, I like this person a lot. I really want to go to the end with them, even if it doesn't benefit me. And Erika recognized that, like, this doesn't benefit me to go to the end with Ricard, where I feel like Ricard's the only situation where the outcome of the vote doesn't happen. Like, I think that's the only time that the outcome could have been something different. So I think this was really smart of Erika to be like, you know what, like, emotionally, I want to go to the end with Ricard, but selfishly, I just can't. And I like that she, you know, kind of like made that decision early on. And I think keeping someone around like Deshawn, who really is not a big threat at this point, I think was very smart on her end. Oh
yeah, for sure. Everyone else seems to agree Ricard is going. He will be going for Deshawn.
Yeah,
Ricard which is obvious.
Yeah.
Ricard really tries to get everyone to go for Deshawn, but it seems like no one is budging. And Deshawn tells Erika if he wins the last immunity challenge, he will take her.
I don't know if I buy that. I really don't, because even during that point, he literally said he wanted Erika to go. So, like, I don't buy that at all.
He was probably just telling her what she wants to hear.
Yeah, no, literally he was just trying to cover himself at that point.
Yeah. Ricard tries to convince Xander to maybe save him, especially with how good their connection has been. He talks about how he has 2 babies on the way and brings up the possibility of maybe playing his idol on him, which could be a big resume move for him.
I thought he was going to do it. I really did. I thought Xander was going to go ahead, because here's the thing. Like, I think Xander really and we'll get into obviously what he does, but like, ideally, like, this isn't a bad move for Xander. His name isn't out there at all. Nobody really wants to go for him. If he pulls this off, he's in a much better position, I think, than where he ended up. And I think he has at least a couple votes, as opposed to the whopping 0 that he ended up getting. So I think that this honestly could have been a pretty good move for Xander, because like, he had so many opportunities to like have that agency in the game, and he dodged like almost every opportunity, and this is yet another one.
I know.
So again, just not a great strategist. I said this all season. Xander just not a great strategist at all.
No, he's more physical.
Yeah, I mean, it could also be because like, you know, he's young and he's kind of inexperienced, but like, I think overall his strategy has just not been good this season.
No. Oh no, not at all. At Tribal Council, Ricard talks about him and his husband's struggle with getting pregnant and was torn between playing the game and having a baby, and he's been having a personal dilemma all season, but he's generally proud of how he played and didn't realize how good he'd be, and he feels he could potentially be one of the better players even if he doesn't win.
Which at this point, I'm like, no, I don't agree with that. I don't think he's like one of the best players ever. I think he was hyping himself a bit, but I did enjoy this moment. I like seeing Ricard talk about how like he wasn't sure if he could win. I think that's a really good arc for him, where it's like, do I choose my baby and my husband, or do I choose playing Survivor? I think that was a really good like sort of personal dilemma that he had, and I think that would have been a really good story for him to win. And I think it also...
I was just gonna say that was a very like heartwarming like story from him.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think it kind of underscored like why I think he could have won this game for sure, because he had a really interesting story that a lot of people don't have, and I think that definitely would have helped him. So
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he's like one of the top players of Survivor history.
Not at all.
But he's definitely great.
Oh, yeah. I think in a season where a lot of the gameplay has been kind of questionable, I think Ricard was definitely one of the stronger ones for sure.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Xander doesn't budge, and he plays the idol on himself. Although he does bring up the bromance between him and Ricard, but also bringing up how big of a threat he is.
Which again, I don't understand why Xander didn't just make the move here. Like, it would have been so impressive if he did. And you could see that jury was like rooting for him to like make that move. And like, they were just so disappointed when he didn't. And like,
oh my God, if he did that, that would have been such good TV.
Yeah, it would have been so good. And like that, this is the time where like you make a move like that. Like, yeah, it's late in the game, but like, every moment counts, and like even if it's something like late game, that's gonna be freshest in the jury's mind. And I really think he should have like been more cognizant about it. Like the way that Erika really thought long and hard about, should I take Ricard or should I take Deshawn? I really wish Xander would have put that same thought into this decision, which I really feel like he didn't. It was a very just like careless decision, and kind of just like bonehead on his end, where it's honestly, like, oh, well, I have this idol, I gotta play it on myself. No, you fucking don't. Like, your name's not out there.
He wasn't even gonna go home. Like, he kind of just wasted it.
Yeah, no, literally. And if he wasn't going to play it on Ricard, don't use the idol. It's more impressive that way. It's more impressive when you have an idol and you never have to use it. And
if he didn't play it, that would have been very impressive. That could have been one of his, like, he could have talked about that.
Yeah, just in general, a very disappointing moment, because like I was really ready for like that moment to happen, and the fact that it didn't, I was like, fuck. Like, every opportunity Xander has to do something impressive and do something that's like really like that could really like benefit him, he just dodges it, and it was just I wanted more from that. It did.
I know. The vote does go down, and predictably, it's a 4-1 for Ricard.
Which, I mean, this is pretty much what we expected. I mean, we literally said this on the podcast that the second that Ricard was not going to win immunity, he probably was going to go. So I'm not shocked that it turned out this way. But it would have been interesting if, like, Deshawn went or something like that. I think it just would have been interesting to see what really happened in that scenario. But I mean, we do want to reiterate that I think out of the final five, Ricard definitely is one of the better players. I think that the way he was able to constantly reposition himself and like gain more allies and things like that, I think he definitely had a very solid chance to win this game. I could very well see him be like someone they bring back for All-Stars or something like that. And I think in general, Ricard definitely does have a lot more to give in this game, but I think he also played like the hardest that he possibly could. So yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, in a season where looking back, there are a lot of game players that leave a lot to be desired. I think Ricard definitely comes pretty close to at least I would say the top half of the list. He's not the best player of the season, but he's definitely one of the better ones.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we get to I think the most exciting portion of the episode, which is the fire making. I really love the way this went down, but we see everyone's really excited to be in the top 4. Erika knows that she's going to be fine at the fire because she already made it during exile. And I thought this was setting her up to like beast that challenge. Like she was going to go to fire making and everyone was going to underestimate her. And she came in and just beasted it. But obviously, that's not what happened. But basically, everyone tries to get some sleep, but the rain really starts to pour down, making it impossible for them to sleep. And I loved the things on Twitter where it's like, wow, Jeff is really making this difficult for them in like the last like few days. I mean, just the rain was crazy. Like the way it started off just a little bit and then was literally like downpouring. I feel like that was the only like exciting moment from this island. Like I got nothing else out of this island except for that moment.
Yeah, that was, oh my God.
Yeah, so they all take this as a sign to keep going and to like never really take their foot off the gas. And Deshawn feels that he's really going to be in trouble at the fire making, considering he struggled with making it before in the season. And like we've said a bunch of times, I thought this was really setting up Deshawn to lose epically in this fire making. He was going to go to fire making. This is how he was going to go. This is how his arc was going to end. And we'll talk about what ended up happening, obviously, but the last immunity challenge of the season goes down. Everyone has to walk against a curved walkway and stack their blocks on this wobbly platform, which, can I just say, like, that shit seemed impossible. I have no idea how anyone was able to pull that off, because if it tilts even slightly, your whole thing just like falls apart. So like,
it's really like you have to like really be in shape.
Yeah, that's easily, I think, one of the hardest challenges of the entire season. But for this challenge, Xander ends up winning, and he gets the final immunity challenge of the season. I was not expecting this outcome. I did not think that's what was going to happen here at all. But basically, he's in tears. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a good moment for him. He tells Jeff how happy he is to win and that he thought as a kid he couldn't do it. And Erika, however, we see she's very unsure if Xander is actually going to save her here. So that's kind of what we get into. But let's get into the fire making, which, like I said, I think for me, aside from the winner, was the best part of this episode, for sure.
Yes, so good. Xander talks about how when he was younger, he was chubby and insecure and wanted to change himself. And so in the 9th grade, he went out for the cross-country team, and he eventually went on to be the most successful team in his state.
And, like, this was great, but I'm also like, why are we getting this, like, so late in the game? Like, why didn't we get this, like, early on?
It was definitely, like, a nice moment, but, like, it was very late in the game.
Yeah, it very much felt like they didn't have... Because, like, I think Devin was talking about this on our last podcast. Like, Xander has kind of just been a joke in terms of, like, confessionals. They haven't really gotten much out of him in terms of, like, well thought out strategy and really have, like, that story. So I think in the last minute, they were like, oh, crap, we don't have a story from Xander. We need to, like, quickly implement something. So they threw this in here, and I really wish they would have put it earlier on in the season, because I think it would have made his arc that much stronger overall.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Deshawn talks to Xander and says he has a really good chance of winning, but he would decrease it if he brought Erika to the end. And she would be a tough person to beat.
Which, I mean, I don't think Deshawn's wrong. I think Xander probably could have potentially won, but I also don't think that his chances were as strong as Deshawn was implying. He really was just trying to, like, get Erika out at this point, which again makes Deshawn look bad because he's telling Erika he would go to the end with her. So like, which is it?
Yeah, it'd be like Xander had like a small chance to win.
Like, very small, I think. Very small.
Heather says she is willing to do either thing, but plans that Erika will beat him.
Which horrible plea on her end, can I just say? Like, this was not a plea at all. This was literally just you do what you want.
That was not a good plea. Like, what is her
game? Not a plea.
Heather's game. Heather does not have a game.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Erika tells him she is also down for whatever, but feels there is legitimate merit to him taking her. He says he plans on taking her, and she freaks out, and he tells her to practice just in case. She changes her mind. And he said he did this because he knows she is good at fire and wouldn't want to give her yet another resume move.
I'm here. I'm just getting food. You can talk about this.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah. Like him saying, yeah. The part where he didn't want her to have another resume move. Like, yeah, that's good. That's actually good strategy on his part. But I mean, he kind of just like gave her the win.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is like, he's so confident, and Xander's done this a lot this season. Like, he's had tunnel vision, similar to how Liana's had tunnel vision about Xander. I feel like Xander always feels like things are going to go his way. He always has that naivety. And I think, again, it's because he's really young and because he doesn't really, like, think things through as much as he should. And again, he shows it here where he is so confident that Erika is going to win fire making and that this would absolutely, like, you know, put her at the top. This would give her more of a resume. But I don't really feel like that's a good reason to not take someone. I feel like the reason to not take someone is because you don't think you can win against them. And I feel like with Erika, like, when you throw someone into a fire-making challenge, that is to get them out. That is why you're doing it. And I think the only way for Xander to reduce the odds of Erika winning over him is to get rid of Erika, and he didn't do that. And I just, again, I don't understand his game sometimes.
Oh, I know. It's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Also, I don't understand, similar to how I don't understand why, I mean, Smarties, but they're called something else. I don't understand that.
Those are rockets.
No, these are Smarties.
No, Smarties are chocolate.
But, well, shout out to winner of Survivor 41 because it's Canadian food.
Spoiler alert again.
Yes.
Deshawn is still struggling to make fire. Erika seems to also be having issues that makes him rethink his decision. Unsure if she is legitimately struggling or if it's a ploy to make him reconsider.
I don't know how she'd fake this, first of all. I don't know how you fake this. Like, I don't know why he thought she was faking it all.
I don't get that.
I think this should have clued Xander that it's like, you haven't made your decision yet. Just send her to fire. Literally, just send her to fire. She's struggling. She's not going to get it. Like, send her to fire.
Yes.
So I didn't understand this.
Oh, same. At Tribal, Deshawn tells Jeff his ideal final three would be him, Xander, and Heather.
Which should also be Xander's ideal final three.
And wanted him to throw Erika in. Oh, yeah, because Xander would definitely win.
Yeah, literally.
Xander said he didn't put too much stock into it because he already knew his decision and says that he's known for a while Deshawn is the biggest threat since the jury seemed to applaud him when he talked down Erika. He feels the jury sees that Heather is being dragged to the end, but she isn't and is a lot stronger than people give her credit for, and she may prove people wrong.
I don't know what jury he was looking at because that jury did not seem happy with Deshawn when he said that. So I don't know what Xander's talking about. Like, Xander has...
No. Literally, they were all thinking Heather was just there and dragged.
Yeah, no. Xander has like really bad reads on the jury, like this entire finale.
Yeah, Heather was literally just there for a number.
Mm-hmm.
He decides to honor his deal with Erika and sends Heather and Deshawn into fire. And for the first time all season, in what is a pretty exciting challenge, Deshawn is successful in making fire and burning his robe, which means Heather is the last person eliminated from Survivor 41.
Yeah, I was shocked about this. First of all, like, again, I thought he wasn't going to hi Mark. I thought that he wasn't going to at first bring Erika to the end. I thought that he was going to send her into fire, first of all. Second of all, between Heather and Deshawn, I thought Heather absolutely had the lead here because like her fire was huge
I mean,
flame.
that was like it was so close. Like at one point, I'm like, okay, is he gonna win? Is he gonna win? It was very intense.
Yeah. And I know I don't know your thoughts on this, but
that's what I like though. I like when it's close. But what?
Yeah, I don't know your thoughts on this, but I've seen a lot of people say they don't like fire making because they don't want someone to go just based on a challenge. But
that's true.
I think we saw here why it's so effective, why it works so well, because you get moments like this where it's like, oh my God, Deshawn is like this close to the finale, but he's not really like, he's really struggling with his flame. And it seems like Heather has like the solid lead. And then all of a sudden it just burns out of nowhere. Like it was such an exciting challenge to watch. It's probably one of my favorite moments of this season, to be honest. I really loved the way this whole thing played out. I loved, again, how it was very unclear what was going to happen until the bitter end, because Deshawn's flame just like came out of nowhere when it came to burning that rope. So yeah, just a really fantastic moment overall. I think in a season where there's been some things that haven't been that exciting, this was easily one of the most like nerve-wracking moments of the entire season. I loved everything about this.
It literally like had me on at the edge of my seat.
Even though I knew the outcome.
Oh yeah, I like the fire challenge. It's like it's just very intriguing to watch, and it's very intense.
It's really better than the edge.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it's just a crazy challenge for sure, and it's just like a nice touch.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoyed this a lot. I thought it was very satisfying, and again, Deshawn actually being able to like make a fire is a very satisfying arc for him. I thought that was a good way to kind of like close things out, because he's kind of struggled with it all season long. You know, we should have known that he probably was going to be able to do it, but I think we just didn't have much faith in Deshawn. So yeah, I like the fact he was able to beat out Heather here. Just very exciting overall.
Oh yeah. Heather is sad to be going, but she's so proud she made it so far and got to see how everything works, and hope she inspires people to step out of their comfort zone.
Which I feel like that brief statement just shows like how irrelevant Heather really was in the season. Like she doesn't have anything to say like strategic wise, which I thought was kind of funny.
Like her only edit started at Merge.
Yeah, no, not at all. She really did not do much in this game. And I don't think Heather really had a solid chance to win really ever. I don't think that she had much of a case to plead. But overall, like I said, I thought this was very exciting. But now we get into the exciting stuff when it comes down to the questions. I thought this was a really solid final tribal council. I thought that the answers weren't always the best, but it was very exciting to watch play out. And so we get a little recap at first of everyone's story. And this confused me because I thought for sure we were getting like opening and closing speeches, and we didn't. We didn't get anything like that. And I was like, what the hell? Why didn't we get like some kind of like opening speech? But I guess this makes up for it, because basically Xander sees himself as this underdog who found a way to keep himself from the bottom by winning challenges and an idol the entire game. To be honest, that's not an impressive game, like at all. Like it's very much seems like I was helped by challenges. That's why I stayed in the game, which is I really feel like
are not
himself short.
Like social and strategic game are more important than like physical. Like physical is important, but just it's not as impressive as the other two.
Well, my other thing is I don't think it's authentic to his game. I feel like he's kind of selling himself short here, because like even though I don't think Xander played that good of a game, he did make some really good connections with Ricard, with like the people from Yasa, and that very much did help him in the game. So I think he should have brought that up more, and he didn't. He did a little bit more, but he didn't here. Erika easily has the most interesting arc, because she talks about how she felt she was underestimated because of how she looks, but she was a lion dressed as a lamb, and she won 2 challenges, absolutely flipped the game with the hourglass, and did a lot of work behind the scenes. by creating an alliance that dominated the end game. And I mean, we really just get a sense of just how much she really did here and how much she really did contribute. Not much. We're just talking about the final tribal council. Yeah. We're talking about the Survivor finale. That's what we're discussing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was just, again, really underscores just how strong her arc was. And Deshawn feels like he didn't always survive.
Yeah, Erika's arc is so strong. Like,
yeah, definitely. So Deshawn talks about how he didn't always survive in the game. He thrived. He's here due to his social skills. And while he didn't win immunity or advantages, he worked his ass off to get here and kept his foot on the gas at all times. I thought he absolutely had the worst read on things. Like 100%. Same. Just did not have a good read at all.
Yeah, he was he may have had a good social game, but like he made very questionable and confusing decisions that made
That's no the thing. Sense. I don't think he really did. I don't really think he had a very strong social game because of the fact that he I don't think he had a strong social game because of the fact that he really didn't put too much effort into those connections. He very often burned them when he didn't need to.
Besides with Danny.
Yeah, Danny was easily his most successful connection, but like any other connections, like I just don't think he put much effort into. So yeah, I don't think he had that great of a social game, to be honest. I think he really kind of he likes to tout his social game a lot in this final tribal council, and I don't really understand why, because I don't think that was the strong point of his game.
Oh yeah. Evvie is the first to ask a jury question. She congrats all of them for surviving the toughest season of them all and wishes them luck.
And then we get actual questions.
Yeah. Danny brings up him being a professional athlete, and as such, he breaks the game down in phases and asks them how they laid out their game plan and then adapted it to get there.
Oh, you can keep reading.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Oh, Xander says he wanted to play a game that was different and risky and authentic to himself, and he knew the team dynamic would be strong and wanted to focus on that with Yasa. Once quarter
two happened.
Oh, I thought that was a typo.
No, it's not.
Once quarter 2 happened, he tried to make himself look like a number and felt most comfortable with Ricard and had to keep him as a shield, but had to turn on him to get an idol. Naseer credits him for stepping out of challenges, but also be there for him when he needed emotional support.
Yeah, which, I mean, I don't think this was a bad answer from Xander at all. I think he definitely did. He definitely did make an effort to talk about like the connections that he had. I think, honestly, the one that was most understated was his connection with Naseer. If you remember, like early on in the merge, Naseer's like, hey, we both have an idol. Let's try to team up. And we didn't see much of that. We really didn't see much of that at all. And it seems like there was a little bit more going on there because it seemed like a lot of the time, like Naseer was very pro Xander. So I definitely felt like we could have seen a little bit more with that. But yeah, I don't think he gave a bad answer here or anything.
No, he didn't do bad at all. And Naseer is just so nice.
Yeah, definitely. And like we said, Naseer is like the nicest person of this whole cast. But Deshawn then brings up how coming in, he needed to focus on his social game no matter what. And his first half was about building those relationships. And post-merge, he knew people saw him as a big threat and is shocked he's sitting here, but he thinks that those relationships helped him get here and was a really big factor in getting people to vote together and keeping it alive, which just from hearing that, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of bullshit. Like, I did not believe what Deshawn was saying here at all. And Ricard really comes at him for this. He interjects and he tells him that While he claims he wanted to bring people together in Luvu, he has forgotten that on the first day of the merge, which this is true, we did see this, he brought up how Erika needed to go and Sydney should leave so that Danny wouldn't know what to do with his game, and that he didn't have a deep connection with Heather and was just really trying to be nice to her. And he basically threw everyone under the bus, and he brings up how only some of that is true and brings up how he did see Erika as a big threat from the get-go, and that Danny himself said he didn't have much of a game and wanted to play it slower. But for him, his truest intentions was that he didn't want any of them out of the game except for Erika, and he apologizes for not being honest. I think he overall covered himself well here, but it doesn't change the fact that he had such poor reads on the game at this point. Like, I don't know why he thought he had this like loyal game, because he didn't. He was like the opposite of loyal. Like any ally he had besides like Danny, he burned at the exact wrong opportunity. And I really wish he would have like dive deeper into and talk about the like, yeah, I targeted people at the wrong time, but I was able to save myself. And he didn't bring that up at all. And I think that's really what kind of cost him the win here. So I was not very impressed, like I said, by a lot of Deshawn's answers.
I wasn't either. Erika brings up how she was going to come into the game and be a sweet lamb and join the bottom of a majority alliance and vote with them for the first vote of Luvu. But Luvu never had to do that. Instead, saw relationships shift, and she brings up her and Heather's connection and then had to go to exile and flip the game. And noticed she could sow her seeds with those who felt like they were on the bottom. So she could then reap this harvest later on the game, even if it was a notice aside from Shan, which is why she had to go. She then found herself in a dominant alliance that helped dictate the final stages of the game, and no matter what, she knew she had good enough allies to know she would be safe in the final 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think, summed this up perfectly. I think she explained pretty much everything she did really well. Just from this one speech, like, I think she deserves to win, because she definitely did do the most work, where it's like she didn't have much of a narrative in the pre-merge, recognized that, and then did everything she could to fix her positioning, and suddenly was in the most, like, dominant position. Like, that's really fucking impressive, and, like, that alone would, like, want me to vote for her to win, so...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, literally, she could have stopped there, and, like, they could just crown a winner, and I think she wins just based on that. But Ricard then commends her on her game, but also brings up how she didn't have the most solid relationships with some people on the jury, so they really aren't seeing it. And however, Deshawn had relations with everybody because he then made it easier to betray everyone, and he asked her if she only decided to have relationships with some individuals, which I want to reiterate, Ricard was not happy with Deshawn at all. Like, like at all here, he was not happy with the way Deshawn played this game. So she brings up how in Survivor, the perception is having a strong social game means you have connections with everyone. But for her, having a strong command of the social game is knowing where you stand and what you are capable of doing. And she knew she had to be kind to everybody, but she worked best with one-on-one connections. And a big part of her game was her relation with Heather. And while many saw her as the brains, it was just about sticking to the duo. Even when there was an opportunity to split them up, they both got to the top 4. And while she wishes she got to know more people, she knew what she was capable of. Again, I think this was a really good answer. I especially like what she said about the social game, because it's an aspect that we don't really think of. Like, most of the time when you have a really solid social game, it's like, oh, I got along with everyone, nobody wanted to go for me. Not exactly Erika's game. She just had really solid connections to where nobody, they didn't want to go for her, and she made those connections so well to the point where they pretty much ran like the end game. So I think that was really well spoken by Erika. I really liked the way she dived deeper into that. And then what she said about Heather as well, where it's like, we didn't have roles as a duo. It really was just about sticking to the duo. I think that's pretty much accurate. Like, when you have a duo like that, it's not so much about like who does what, who plants the seeds and then who like is the one to like spread it around. It's not really about that. It's more just about sticking to that duo, and I think that's what makes Erika and Heather like such a strong duo overall.
Yeah. Tiffany asks Xander where he stood with Yasa going into the merge. He brings up how he was going in as an Aussie type who is only good at challenges, but those people don't make it very far, and they sing in the rain together, and he knew that her and Evvie would keep him around, and he did want to protect them. But at a certain point, he had hurt his game, and his hands were tied.
Again, I think this was a good answer for him. I think he explained this pretty well. I was honestly impressed by most of his answers.
Me too. I was very impressed.
Yeah.
Liana asks him if there were points he had good enough reads to make a move, and he at first struggles to answer the question, and he brings up how during the Tiffany vote he was fed different stories about the vote, so he knew he was likely getting duped, and he needed to play his idol, and basically was reading the room.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he explained it well. He did fumble that question a bit at first. I'm like, oh no, Xander, give an answer. Like, don't just be silent here. And I like that Liana kind of like coached him to like get him to that point. And I think he did give a solid answer. But again, I do think it underscores that like Xander did not really control this game in any way. Like, he did not take control of the game. He did not really make any specific moves. The only move I think he really could have made was holding on to the idol and also like, wielding the idol over to Tiffany. But I say that's more Tiffany's move than Xander's. So yeah, I mean, there isn't a lot he did like move wise, and I'm glad that he recognized that. But again, it makes his game a lot less impressive overall.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I do think he answered like the majority of these questions well.
He did.
So Evvie then brings up how everyone knew about Xander's idol, yet he was able to hang on to it post-merge. And she asked if it was luck or was it because of social capital. And I like that she asked this because it's something that I think we've even been wondering. It's like, is it because of just the fact you had an idol and you got lucky? Or did he do something to like protect himself? And he brings up how it was a little bit of both, and that he was always paranoid and he wanted to play that way since he was thinking of every option. So he went to every tribal nervous as hell and unsure whether or not to play it. And his relation with Ricard was strong enough to where when he said to play his idol, he meant people were voting for him, but he knew with the chaos, people wouldn't ever have the unity to take him out. I think he fumbled this answer a bit because I don't think Ricard was saying like people are voting for you. I think Ricard generally wanted him to play the idol there. And I think he should have been a little bit more cognizant of that, because I do think that, when Ricard's saying play the idol, I think he is asking him to like play the idol. So I don't think he answered that quite as well. I like what he said about being paranoid, but I didn't really like what he said about playing the idol, because I don't think that's true. I think Ricard generally just wanted to play the idol.
I think so too.
Yeah.
He was just like, let's just get this out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. And at that point, it would have been a good move for him to do that because Xander was very much at the bottom.
Yeah. Ricard tells Xander he can get past him voting him out in a strategic light, but he doesn't understand why he kept Erika around when she was the biggest threat next to him. And he knew at some point people are going to ask him because it's crazy, but he's just confused if their relationship was genuine. He says that it was, and he loves to make connections, but he would have won against anyone, and he was under the impression Erika wasn't the biggest threat. Because the jury seemed to agree with Deshawn's truth bomb and could have potentially been a fallacy in the game.
And again, just really bad reads from Xander here in terms of the jury. I think when it comes down to Xander, I think what really did cost him the game is this move, is not saving Ricard. I think if he saves Ricard, he has a much bigger chance of winning the game. But I think this really did hurt him because he's kind of at the end and he doesn't really have any move that he can dictate or any move that he did on his own. So yeah, I think overall he really did not answer this that well. But it's also not really his fault that he didn't answer it well, because like again, he kind of fucked himself over.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault.
Yeah. So Heather asked Xander why taking Erika benefited his game, and he says that while she was strategic, he felt he always had the edge because he had a more full sail game. I don't know what he meant by that, but he didn't give her the opportunity to beat someone in fire because it would have tipped the balance in her favor. And again, like, put too much like stock into the fact that like Erika is going to do well in this challenge, which like really you don't know until you send her in there. So I really think he should have just sent her in there, and I think he would have been in a position overall.
That'd be crazy.
So we then get probably like the craziest question from anyone here with Shan.
All right. Shan asks Deshawn about the moves he made in the game, which he found to mostly just be temper tantrums and sulky, as if he was capitalizing on a social movement back home or was serious about it. He said he will never sell out his people for a game, and the moves that happened at Tribal were the way it was perceived, but he wore his heart on his sleeve and people weren't responding, so he responded for who it that way. He said it hurts him that it would be considered he would use a movement in this game, but he understands why, and he says he really did see it as a sister, and he was hurting, and he has to apologize for that.
And again, I think Deshawn handled this as well as he really could, but again, it just comes down to the fact that he had such a bad read on things the entire game. I think, like I said, out of everyone, I think Deshawn absolutely had the worst reads on his game here because he just can't put 2 and 2 together that like he was not loyal to Shan at all. Like in any way was he loyal to Shan. The second that she started to be just a little bit, a little bit controlling when it came to his vote, he wanted her out. He didn't want to wait. He just wanted her out immediately, even though they had opportunities to take out Ricard. They had opportunities to get other people. For some reason, he wanted to get out Shan. And I think that honestly is the flaw of Deshawn's game. And I think similar to Xander, it's something he was just never able to overcome. But, and I think you'll agree with me on this, Allie, is that Xander was able to do enough to where he still answered questions well and he recognized the fault in his game. I don't think Deshawn did. I don't think Deshawn at all recognized the fault in this game here.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Yeah. So I think that really is what hurt him overall. But Danny brings up to Erika how she played an amazing game in many of the challenges, and she allowed people to underestimate her and not really see what she was doing. And so she brings up how she spent 10 years going into boardrooms where people treat her like the intern, but she was really the one running the meeting. And though she was never out in front, she was never at the bottom, and she was always on the right side of the vote. Another really great quote from her. Just so many great quotes from Erika all around, and she always was unsure, what the path would be to the end. But she knew if she did, that she'd be a dark horse. And Danny brings up how she played the game that he really wanted to, and Tiffany kind of admits the same thing. Again, just a really great moment for Erika. I feel like Erika's someone that coming into this, the jury was kind of like unsure about her game, but the more she answered things, the more it really like got them to want to vote for her. So I think while Xander and Deshawn didn't really do much to like get themselves the votes, I think Erika absolutely did when it came to this final tribal council. Is that I think there were some people that were like a little shaky on voting for her, but I think she really did win them over in the end. Yeah. So Liana then jokingly asked Xander if he was an idol.
She's such a like good speaker and everything.
Oh yeah, she's an amazing speaker. But Liana, we get the scene where Liana asks Xander if he has an idol, and everyone like commends them on their games. And now it's time to vote one last time.
Oh, also, Liana and Xander don't even actually hate each other. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, if they ever end up dating, I'm here for it.
I'm surprised they didn't reveal it in like the reunion. I thought they were going to, because just,
I know
the way they were acting, it very much seemed that way.
Oh yeah, they're so flirty.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe we have as bad reads on that as Deshawn does on his game. I don't know, but it certainly seems that way.
That's true. It's time for everyone to vote one last time. The votes are read, and Jeff says the theme of this season was really about dropping the 4 and keeping the 11, and it was the first time the game was played for only 26 days, causing it to move at such a relentless pace. And they also introduced the most dangerous twists they've ever done, and he brings up to them the votes will be read on location this season.
Which again, like, is like not usually been a thing.
Yeah.
So.
And by what is pretty much a clean sweep, Erika is the winner of Survivor 41 by a vote of 9-1 to 0, also being the first Canadian winner, which is so exciting.
Yes, definitely. I was very.
And also, the one vote was Deshawn, which I'm pretty sure it was Danny's vote. But
I'd have to.
And then the 0 was obviously Xander.
Yeah, I think it was Danny. It was Danny who voted for Deshawn, which is not shocking considering how aligned those two were the whole game. Sure, yes. I don't know what you're saying, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know, but sure.
Anyway, like I said, coming into this finale, literally all I cared about was that we had a decent winner, and I think Erika more than proved that she is a really good winner for this game. I think the kind of game that Erika played is one that you normally don't see, where she didn't start off in like a dominant position. She started off very much as like kind of just there. Like she was in her tribe. People kind of saw her as a threat, but she wasn't really doing much. And we, at least from the edit, we didn't really see her doing much. And not only that, she recognized the fact that she wasn't doing much and tried to do something to like actively change her positioning, and it worked. And I think that's what really did get her this win in the end, because not many people can do that. Not many people can go from the pre-merge where they don't have much agency and then suddenly have like the most agency out of everyone. And Erika found a way to do that. And I said it for a long time that Erika was in a really strong position to win this game. And now here we are. Not only this, Allie, I did win a draft for the first time, which is amazing. I won our draft that we did all the way back, which don't watch that video back because we mix up a lot of the players because we couldn't fucking see any of the pictures. But regardless, I did draft Erika, and I took a chance on her early on in the season. Or early on, like before the season even started, I said Erika is someone that I could really see winning this game. And now here we are. So yeah, just some self.
Congrats on winning the draft.
Yes, definitely. I don't usually win drafts, so this is very exciting. But yeah, overall, I think that, I think this was a really strong win. Is there anything you want to say about Erika's win?
Oh, I am so happy because she was like one of my other favorites. So I was so excited she won, and she was very well deserved. And she's Canadian, which is amazing.
Yeah. Now, the thing I do want to bring up, though, is that Xander leaves this season as a 0-vote finalist. And I'll be honest, I wasn't very impressed by Xander's strategic game. I don't think he deserves to be a 0-vote finalist, like in any way.
I feel like Deshawn and Xander should have at least had the one.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think either of them are like some of the worst players ever. I think Deshawn had a really bad read on things.
Yeah. I don't think any of them deserve 0.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think any of them were like this. In no way were any of these like a catastrophic like final tribal council. I think, like I said, Deshawn had really bad reads, and I don't think he answered some of the questions in the best way. And I think that Xander had very little like agency in this game, and he had moments where he could have done something and he didn't. But I don't think it was like a terrible jury performance. I think everyone did it to the best of their ability, with Deshawn just not having the best read on things. But yeah, I don't think either of them deserve to be 0-vote finalists. So I was a little surprised by the vote count. I'm happy that Erika won, but I would have liked a couple more votes going their way.
Oh, same. Jeff brings up how they will also keep shooting and do the reunion right now. And the jury comes over and congratulates Erika on a well-deserved win.
And do we want to talk about the reunion at all? Do we want to bring up some bullet points?
We have a little bit of notes. We can talk about a little bit.
We can. I mean, there's not a ton to talk about here because I feel like...
Yeah, we can just talk about like the key points or something, or anything that's important.
Yeah, as a whole, I'll be honest, I don't think this reunion was very good. I felt like most of them, I think you'll agree with me, most of them felt like they just wanted to leave.
They all seemed like they all seemed tired and just wanted to go home and shower.
Yeah. Well, I think in concept, I get what Jeff was going for, where he wanted this to be like raw and authentic. You know, they're still in the game, so they'll give like the best answers. But you think about someone like...
It's also because COVID restrictions.
Well, yeah, but I get why like he wanted to do it this way and not just like on Zoom like they did for Winners at War.
Yeah.
But I think what really hurt it is that you look at someone like, say, Xander or Deshawn. Deshawn just received 1 vote. You can see that he very badly wants to talk about it. He wants to go over and figure out who that 1 vote was. Xander wants to figure out, why he didn't receive any votes. And they just kind of have to sit there and wait. And it's just really kind of awkward to watch this play out, where you can see that Deshawn especially just wants to get the fuck out of there. He's like, get me off this stump. I want to talk. I'm hungry. Just let me leave, So I kind of did feel bad for them, because I feel like this was just really awkward to watch.
It was so awkward. I didn't hate it, but it was very awkward to watch.
Yeah, we do get some good moments here. I liked what we got with Erika, where she talks about how people already look at her as someone who's very young, and knew that someone like Heather can talk to someone, and that she didn't have to have the sole credit, and knew that the path to the end didn't have to be pretty. She just really had to get there and have the chance to really plead her case. And Jeff brings up how he was the one who delivered her the news about the hourglass, and that he saw that she was a really different person than the rest of the game, and that she felt like she really belonged on the island. And I would agree. I think that's really when Erika took control of the game. But she brings up how much she did struggle with fire, and it may have been tough for her to beat someone in the fire making challenge, but she really is glad that she got here. This was a good moment from Erika overall. A bit repetitive, but like I said, we didn't get closing speeches, so I did feel this kind of made up for that.
Yeah, I really liked that moment. It was important.
Oh, definitely.
And then Xander admits he underestimated Erika, and he can very much grow from this and learn that. And Jeff brings up how much Xander didn't feel he could be on Survivor because he didn't have what it takes, and he says that he wishes he could go back and tell his younger self he could do anything he set his mind to it.
Not really a lot to talk about here. I'm glad that Xander admitted that he was wrong, and that he definitely should have definitely thought that through more. But like I said, I mean, the time to really go back on that decision was during the fire making challenge. It's a little late to be I kind of underestimated her. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. But Deshawn talks about how much of his game was about being emotional, and that it did surprise me because he has a skewed perception of himself, and Survivor kind of brought out that side of him. And when multiple people are telling him something, that there has to be
I'm sorry about your typo when you put hin instead of him.
Oh, but Jeff reiterates that people didn't see him as a disaster, just that one aspect, and he did get 1 vote, and his returning point was the fire-making challenge. I would agree with that. I think that was easily Deshawn's strongest point in the game, is that he was able to actually pull that off, but especially with how much he was able to build it back up. He said he knew he was at the bottom, and with the do or die, there were few chances for him to make it to the end, and he felt that the fire-making challenge was amazing and told himself to never give up. I think this was an all right answer from Deshawn. I'm glad that he said he needs to really grow and work on himself, but I don't understand how he did not realize the kind of game that he was playing. I don't understand why he didn't recognize that I'm not really playing this loyal game with the way that he was doing things. I don't know. I mean, sometimes when you're in the heat of the game, you don't realize what you're doing. But I really feel like it was blatantly obvious that Deshawn is not playing a social game right now. And I don't know why he saw it as such. So again, just very questionable when it comes to Deshawn. I honestly would want to see him come back, Xander, as well, because I feel like these are 2 people that could reevaluate their games in a different season.
I feel like next time they'd really prove themselves.
Yeah, I think so too. I think both of them had a lot of flaws in their games, and I think if they come back, they can very much improve upon that. So I especially want to see Xander come back because he's so young, and I feel like give him a couple years, when he ages a bit, I think he'll be a little bit more inquisitive.
Someone that definitely deserves redemption is obviously someone I thought who would go really far is Sara.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think she just was put on the wrong tribe.
Oh, for sure.
But she had a lot of potential because she was also so sweet.
There's a lot of people, honestly, I'd love to see come back from this cast. I'd love to see Tiffany again. I'd love to see Naseer again. Shan or Liana, I'd love to see again. Danny, I'd love to see. There's a lot of people from this cast. And that is the one thing I will reiterate is that no matter what, this is like easily, I think, just a really strong cast overall.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that though I don't think this season was like amazing, I think the cast was pretty solid all around.
Oh, it was a great cast.
Yeah.
Jeff talks about how even though there were 26 days, they made sure to put in new twists and rations, and that would make it feel like a full season.
Could you not? Like,
he brings up the beware advantage, and if there was any hesitation, and Xander says he had to take the risk. Shan said there was hesitation at first, and she knew what was in it because of JD, but also JD deserves a redemption as well.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
But eventually, just wanted it, and her and Ricard convinced Genie not to open it, and she did, and then was hoping Luvu would, and they did.
And it reminds us how much of a character like Shan was in the beginning of this game. Like I really thought for a while Shan was like poised to win, but I think unfortunately, like her game was very much clocked in the merge.
Oh yeah, I mean preseason I thought Liana was gonna win, but then Shan had like the edit for sure.
Yeah. I think she just did a little too much, and I think that's something where if she comes back, she'll tone it down a bit.
Oh yeah. She needs to play hard, but also chill.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing is that like there were definitely weeks where she didn't have to be like the driving force, but she wanted to be, and it didn't work for her.
Yeah. Naseer says he had to memorize the phrase, and it took him 50 to 60 times, especially since English wasn't his first language.
Which I love Naseer so much. Can I just say that? I've said it all season, but I love Naseer so much. Like you want to give Naseer a great big hug. Like every time he speaks, you just want to give him a big hug because he's so likable in that way. Everything he says, you can just see the passion that he has for this game. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I feel like he was like the most passionate to like play Survivor. So yeah, I mean, I really want to see Naseer come back because he was just such a fun character to watch.
Yeah, he was so nice and just passionate and everything.
And his moment where he found the idol was also like a top tier moment of the season for sure.
I love that part.
Yeah, the flashback and everything, that was great.
So good. Jeff talks about the night sneak, which Xander didn't know about at first, and he didn't know she had that advantage at first. And the most dangerous part was coming back in the event it rained.
Okay, I may be stupid here, but what was he talking about? What night sneak? Like, when was this?
I'm trying to remember.
Because I literally don't remember this.
I actually don't really remember much either. I think I have to go back and find it.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't remember what he was talking about, so I really don't have much to contribute there. But we then get this whole segment with the knowledge is power advantage. Obviously, this was a completely fumbled advantage that I really don't want to see again because I don't like the idea of it. And thank God it was fumbled, but Evvie basically talks about how Liana kind of did this to herself because, she literally showed her the advantage and that kind of showed her that like Liana wasn't really on her side. And they went as far as this part I didn't know. This makes this like that much more kind of like fun of a move where they literally stuffed the real idol in Tiffany's bra while Xander, as Liana was like coming up to them, stuffed the fake idol like in his crotch to make her think that like he was putting the real idol in his crotch. So I didn't know they like put that much into it, but like it makes that move that much more like flashy. Like if I had to talk about a flashy move this season, I mean that's it. Like that's easily the flashiest.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't there's like nothing on that level for sure.
I mean it was pretty iconic, not gonna lie.
Yeah. And I did really like this moment with Liana where she talks about how sometimes she thinks she's very much a pessimist and kind of saw herself as worthless and that there were voices in her head telling her it's okay to feel that way. And she feels like Survivor's kind of like changed her for the better. And she hopes her friendship with Shan is something that lasts a while. I really like that moment a lot. It shows how much Survivor did impact Liana.
I love their friendship so much. And yeah, I think Liana is just so genuine.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoy it. Like I said, I think Liana's biggest fault in the game is that she had that tunnel vision, but I think she definitely is someone else that like, because she's so young, like similar to Xander, give her a couple years and I think she's really going to prove herself. So I'd love to see her back.
I feel like if whenever they bring her back, she would definitely like do way better, I think.
Yeah, and then we get this moment with Naseer where he talks about how much he utilized the island and nobody really did it the way that he did, and he was proud because of his experience in like Sri Lanka and felt like he was back to being a young kid, again hunting birds and climbing coconut trees, and that he enjoyed every moment because he achieved his dream and he's here to inspire kids in poverty. Just what a story from Naseer. Like I said this going into the season, but like he has such a specific type of story that you don't normally see, and like that was just so interesting to watch. And I think that's what was so great about this cast, is that it was so diverse, not just in terms of cultures, not just in terms of like, race and gender, but also just in terms of life experiences. Like that's such an interesting story for Naseer. And I really liked that we got to see someone like that on the show. And then we get this really good moment with Danny where he talks about his dad passing away and that he's really kind of always blamed himself for it, but Survivor like helped him like fully come to terms with it, to the point where now his father's on like a I will make you proud list, I think he talked about. Just really heart-wrenching stuff there, and I really like seeing him like fully come to terms with that.
I love Danny.
Me too. I really grew to like Danny a lot, and he's someone else that, like I said, I'd love to see come back. But the only other thing we're going to talk about here is that Evvie talks about how with so many age gaps, it showed that really anyone can play this game, which is true. I mean, this season had the two youngest people to play Survivor, and it had, I believe, two of the oldest people to play Survivor. So
yeah,
I think that's really cool.
It was so like diverse in that sense.
Yeah, it really was, and I enjoyed that a lot here. We do get a bit of a preview for Survivor 42, which I'm excited for, but what I'm not excited about is that it does seem like they are keeping some of these twists. The idol system is going to be the same with like the Beware advantage and things like that, which I really wasn't a big fan of, because I feel like at the end of the day, none of the idols played a role into anything except for maybe Naseer's vote. So I hope that they find a way to sort of like tweak that to where,
I hope so.
They can actually like make it work.
I hope it's not too advantage heavy.
Yeah. Well, because Jeff hinted at the fact that they're going to like fine tune a lot of things that like they had on the island this season. So I'm really just hoping like we don't see like the knowledge is power advantage again. We don't see like some of the other advantages, because I just simply wasn't a fan of them. I felt like not only was I not a fan, they just didn't play much of a role overall. And I wish that like we would have just like not had them, because they were pretty ineffective. Like I don't think there was a single advantage this season that really was like that effective overall, except for maybe the shot in the dark, which got Sydney voted out, but that's kind of it. So
but
I mean,
stay tuned for when we do our cast assessment and our draft for the next season.
Hopefully I win again. We'll see.
We'll see.
I will say there was one woman who they showed in the trailer that I like a lot already. The one that talks about like her being a lawyer and like how she is going to like put the men in check. Like I like her energy already. So I'm excited to see what she does. There's another guy that looks exactly like Chris Hemsworth, and I feel like that's what I'm gonna be talking about all preseason. So like I'm a fan, I guess.
Actually, could you imagine if Chris Hemsworth was on?
That'd be very interesting, and he doesn't need the money, so I don't know why they get him on. But
actually,
I guess the only other thing.
No. He would just play dressed as Thor.
That'd be funny. I guess the only other thing we'll do here is just thoughts on this season overall. What did you think?
I mean, I definitely love the cast. Like the majority of them are great. Like the only one I didn't the only person I didn't like was Sydney. But
she's so irrelevant though. Like I literally forgot about her.
Same. First merge, woo. But
thank God.
Yeah, overall the season I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. It was just kind of like sometimes like it had like its good moments, but it also kind of was too advantage heavy, and it was just kind of frustrating some of the gameplay. So, but I mean, I didn't hate it overall. It wasn't like a top tier season for me.
Yeah, for me, as you guys know, this was my first like full Survivor season. And at first I was like really loving it. I'm like, oh my God, this is all so cool. I like all these, like, I like this cast a lot. I like the way this whole thing is going. But I think what brought down the season for me is getting to the merge and realizing a lot of what we saw in the pre-merge was kind of pointless. Because like the majority of the people they focused on did not get far into the game. And then the ones that they didn't focus on ended up getting far. So I think that's what kind of hurts the season as well, is that I don't think the editing was that great. I think a lot of the time it was focused on people that just didn't get very far in the game. Like, remember how much airtime JD had? Like,
and then he
was the fourth boot. Like, what the fuck?
I know. He was so robbed in that sense.
Yeah, he really was. And I think they definitely need to do a better job with that. Yeah. I think that the best way to sum up the season is really strong pre-merge, not the best merge. Not the best merge at all. I don't think the merge was very exciting.
The pre-merge was so good.
Yeah, the pre-merge was really strong. I think that when it comes to the merge, there were some really good moments. Like, obviously, the botch knowledge is power advantage. I like that a lot. I loved a lot of the things that Erika did. I loved like seeing Liana break down and like talk about the the Black community and the impact that like they're having. I think all of that was really great. I think we have a really strong winner, but overall, I don't think it's that great of a season. I told this to Allie. I think the season overall is going to be kind of forgettable. I think that aside from like the winner and some of the players, I don't think a lot of people are going to remember this season that much. And that's unfortunate because, like I said, this is my first Survivor season and was started off on kind of like this high for me, kind of was like just something I'm watching. So, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I think there were also some players that either just weren't edited well or we just didn't get a lot from. Heather in particular just never did anything for me, and I just did not find her interesting. So, yeah, I mean, if I had to grade the season, I'm probably like a B-. So,
yeah, I'm like, I think I'd be a B- as well.
Yeah, that's probably where I'm at. But yeah, Survivor 41's over. Went by very fast. I will say that. It did go by very fast. But it was really fun getting to cover this with you, obviously. Yes, it was very fun getting to watch
obviously, stay tuned for the next season of Survivor and CBB, Big Brother Canada.
Yeah, we got a lot of
Big Brother US if the circle comes back.
A lot of Big Brother next year.
a lot of oh my God, so much. And also, like I said,
next year, but we literally only have 2 days of the year left. So, like,
yeah. Also, if the circle's coming back,
at some point.
And also, we're going to finish Ascendance. We have 2 more episodes to cover, but we're just going to cover it. We're just going to cover both of them in the same episode. That's coming. We just we're just kind of figuring out availabilities for like interviews.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the rest of our org music video podcasts is coming soon. We've just been like really busy.
Yeah, we'll finish that. Time at all.
That's just kind of like an off-season thing anyway. Yeah, and also we were gonna cover the Disney Christmas mini on our podcast, but I mean,
with some amazing Christmas shirts that totally were not cheap at all.
Yeah, these Christmas shirts I ended up getting. We were supposed to get when he was here, like matching Christmas sweaters, but that just never happened because we got too busy. Yeah. So I found T-shirts that were at the dollar store for $4, and they were really small.
Yeah,
it's a really funny memory though. But maybe we'll eventually cover the Christmas mini just for fun, or at least like talk about some things. But like whenever we're just like able to, whenever we have free time. But,
yeah, definitely. It'd be cool to cover that. But either way, as usual, thank you all for watching this our coverage of Survivor all season. This was definitely a lot of fun to do. Very excited to get Survivor 42, which hopefully is a little bit more of a memorable season, but we will
hopefully
see overall. Like I said, I'm kind of expecting for it to be similar to this season in a lot of aspects because I think they kind of shot it back to back, but I guess we'll really just have to see. But other than that, guys, for this video, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm losing my voice, so we're going to end it right here. We'll see you guys. I know. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.
Bye. Have a good night.